o'clock. We'll call the regular meeting of the Beltrami County Board to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Just remind everybody to be careful with the weather conditions outside tonight. If you have to travel, do be very careful, otherwise stay at home. And that's my general comments, and we'll move on to if there's anyone wishing to address the county board item not on the agenda, they may come forward at this time to be recognized by the board chair. Please state your name and address for the record. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. A personnel complaint against an individual county employee may not be heard initially at a board meeting. Personnel complaints may be submitted to the board in writing through the county administrator's office, and a person addressing the board may not use profanity or vulgar language. Is there anyone that wishes to address the county board? Not seeing anybody here, and I assume nobody online. All right, we will move on. Look for approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Winger. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Carlson. All in favor of approving the agenda as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, it passes 5-0. Look for approval of a consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Carlson. Do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Winger. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda passes 5-0. On to the regular agenda, we have the public defender contracts. Is Administrator Barry going to tackle that one,
Yes,
or?
sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before you have two contracts for brand new public defenders that would join our team of two now to represent the indigent and others that we're required to provide counsel for through the hearing process. As you know, we had a team of 4 public defenders that we had under contract for years. A couple of years ago, we lost one of those public defenders. He just decided to move out of the region. And so we went down to 3 public defenders for a while. And then, of course, one of the 3 unfortunately passed away a little earlier this year. So that brought us down to 2 public defenders. The county attorney and I, and also court administrator, have talked this through and feel strongly that getting back to a team of 4 makes sense. I put out a request for qualifications back in February or so. That ran for a month, trying to seek qualified candidates to take on this role. We did have 2 attorneys apply, and those attorneys were vetted, and essentially contracts were developed for each of those attorneys. Those contracts are essentially, what would that be, 8-month contracts to get us from April 1st through the end of this year. We typically do that when we bring new public defenders on, so we can kind of try them out, make sure they like it, make sure that we like them, the courts like them, and all that sort of thing. But our intention is that if they work out, and we have every indication that they will, that we would be extending those contracts or renewing with a new contract. So this would potentially, with your approval of these 2 contracts, bring our team back to 4, give us greater flexibility and coverage, and also limit the conflict-related issues we have when we have the need for multiple public defenders on a single case. Those contracts are in your packet. They're identical, essentially, except for the name, and match pretty closely the original contracts that we were under. It is highly likely that we will be engaging with all 4 of these public defenders as we go through the budget process and make revisions to a couple areas that we initially started conversations about last year. But for right now, these will get us through the end of this year. And I'll stand for any questions you might have on them.
Commissioner Carlson.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the public defender and legal services representation contracts for Ellen Tholen and Joshua Knuckles.
Okay, we've got a motion from Commissioner Carlson. Do we hear a second?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would be interested in separating these out and voting on them one at a time. I too am concerned about the budget. I think we have plenty of funds to hire one of these individuals, perhaps hiring another person next year. I would be in support of hiring,
Well, let's wait and see if we get a second first, and then we can have discussion. Oh, is there a second to Commissioner Carlson's motion?
I'll second that.
We have a second by Commissioner Winger. So now we can have further discussion. Commissioner Gold, do you want to?
yeah, the last sentence I was gonna say was just that looks like, Mr. Nichols has more experience, and so I would certainly support bringing him on board.
I also had questions about the budget, Commissioner Gould. When we went from 4 down to 3, we adjusted the salaries, I believe, and basically essentially took the salary of the fourth person and put it to a third. So I'm wondering, what have we done, if anything, with regard to that, since we're not adjusting the 2 current contracts? Is this going to cost us more? Where's that money coming from, and so on?
Great questions, and I regret I didn't cover that in my presentation, but I do have your answers for you. Yes, you're correct, Mr. Chair. We had 4 contracts. Each of those contracts was around $70,000. When the one left and we went down to 3 contracts, we took the 70,000 divided by 3 and added a third to each of the remaining 3 because they were essentially getting the work of the 4th public defender. That was agreeable to them, and that was after about 2 months of us looking for a 4th to replace the person who left. We were unsuccessful at that time. And so this was kind of an arrangement that worked well for the county. We talked about it being temporary. And so when we made that adjustment, I wrote an amendment to the contracts that said, you will get that increase until such time the county reverts back to 4 attorneys, and then you will go back to your original rate. That has survived in those 2 contracts to date. And so the 2 contracts that you're getting are at the original rate, about 71,000. And the 2 contracts that are in existence currently have that amendment in them that will bring them back down to the 71,000 or so. So the budget's whole. We're not increasing budget over this. It's the same amount. It's just, do you want to have 3 at 71,000? Or I mean, excuse me, 3 at like 96,000 or whatever, or 4 at 71. We feel because it costs us the same, 4 is better than 3 for coverage, sickness, illness, conflicts, that kind of stuff. But I'm sorry I didn't cover that earlier because I imagine that would make a big difference in your decision.
I would assume that you had conversation with the existing 2 and they are understanding of the reduction in pay because of the reduction in work if this is approved.
Well, they have that in their contract. I haven't had that specific conversation yet because I wasn't certain. First of all, if I would get this on the agenda for this time.
Okay.
Second of all, if I've had 2 or 1 that was going to actually accept the contract and both ended up accepting it. And 3, whether or not you were going to agree to 1 or 2.
Yep.
So once you decide, then my first order of business tomorrow is to let the 2 others know what's going to happen. And they may be disappointed in the reduction in pay, but they're getting also a third of the work reduced as well. In fact, almost half because they've been double timing it now, in good faith for the county. Well, we have allowed the court to appoint, and I've done that on about 10 to 15 cases to try to lighten the load of the 2 remaining, because they have complained about having a large workload, and that's reasonable to be concerned about that. So I think they'll be pleased to have a more, this is supposed to be part-time work. So I think they'll be pleased to have a more reasonable work schedule.
Okay.
But yeah.
My concern would be, if they were not happy with it and wanted to cancel their contract because of that, then, losing one of our seasoned people to get a new person potentially, is there any concern or thought along that line?
There is concern about that. I can tell you that could happen. And if it does, then we'll have to go back out and do another request for proposals, or have court appoint. I did actually call as a separate subject, related, but I did call a meeting of, I think it's called the Public Defender Committee. It was a committee that I think we've only had in my time met once. So Commissioner Carlson and Commissioner Winger were on that committee, and I shared the financials behind court-appointed attorney costs and our contracted costs. And in fact, it's cheaper for us, at least with the data that we have, which we need to probably look a little bit closely at. But based on timesheets that were turned in and the data we have from the courts, it's slightly cheaper to do court-appointed attorneys. So this arguably could be a little bit more expensive for us. It's already budgeted, and it gives us time with this scenario to actually study that a little bit more closely and find out if that is the case going forward. So, but yeah, we are sensitive to that. The reason I bring that up is because if we ended up having to go to court-appointed attorneys, the cost implication isn't as, it's actually less. I thought it would be more, which is why I was hustling to try to get these contracts filled, but it ended up not showing that in the data.
Okay, Commissioner Carlson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important that we bring up the fact that the number of hours that were reported for someone that's already on a salary were probably not as accurate as they would be if they're billing us by the hour. I'm pretty sure that those hours go up substantially. I'm just knowing how that kind of situation works. It appeared that it may be a little bit cheaper, but it was close, and I'm just concerned that it would exceed a contracted. So I just think we know what our top is. We don't have to worry about that. So I just, that's why I made the motion, because I was on the committee and we had that discussion.
Commissioner Winger?
I just have one other comment. It's, with the four, a little less concern is if something like this happens again, where we lose another one of these that decides they don't want to do it anymore, they retire, or health issues, all those things come into play. It's nice to have if we have them now, since it took so long to find anybody,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good idea to go with the four because of that. But
And Mr. Chair, I would still feel more comfortable because of the costs and everything, the time crunch and putting the contracts together so quickly. If we voted on them one at a time, I have no problem with the Mr. Nichols, but because he has more experience, so.
I think Commissioner Sumner wants to chime in here.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, I think maybe Commissioner Winger seen my notes. I was kidding. No, but I agree, we've been having issues, fulfilling, the poor public defender contracts for a number of years. And I think, we have the opportunity to hire, the four or, the additional two, I think would be, a great benefit, to the people that they serve, our residents, the people that we serve. Because I don't know how well represented, these folks are when they're, having to worry about representation that might be overburdened or things like that. So I would support, the two additional attorneys.
Thank you, Commissioner Sumner. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor of hiring these two additional, what are they?
Public defenders.
Public defenders, thank you. Say aye. Aye. And opposed?
No.
We have 4-1 and the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jail property purchase agreement. That looks like it's probably also you, Tom, or no?
I don't know if it needs any further discussion, but this is what we talked about in the work session at pretty good length, so.
It's just the Richard Seegert property that we talked about, the adjustment of the property
I
line.
didn't put it on consent because I figured it might be a little more complicated than a consent item warranted, so
Okay.
just place it on the regular agenda. If you had more discussion, I'm happy to answer questions
Okay.
about it.
Commissioner Carlson?
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the jail property purchase agreement with Rich Seegert.
Thank you. Do I hear a second to that?
second.
Second from Commissioner Winger. Any further discussion on the small property purchase? All right, call for the question. All in favor of this, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank
And we'll move on to the Commissioner. We'll combine the legislative lobbying and Commissioner reports all in one. Commissioner Sumner.
Mr. Chair, was it last week? Attended the, or was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I attended the Northwest Minnesota Juvenile, meeting along with Commissioner Gould. I thought it was a really good meeting. It was my first one, since, starting back up my committee assignments. Also attended, the Red Lake Day at the Capitol, last Wednesday. That was a good event. And the Red Lake State of the Band, so it's, took up most of my, past 2 weeks, so. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sumner. Commissioner Winger.
I don't have a lot. I went to the land meeting committee, and the public defender meeting, and you pretty much heard everything that we discussed at those, so.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gould.
No significant updates, pretty standard committee meetings lately.
Thank you. Commissioner Carlson.
We had our monthly airport meeting, and we had our, review of our executive director, 9-month review. We had, Commissioner Winger and I attended the public defender committee, which was a first for me. And maybe a last, who knows? I also had the land review committee, which is always really interesting. And I thought Shane Foley did a really good job of presenting all the different lands that, it's always interesting to note that you never really know with as big a landmass as Beltrami County has, if anyone has actually built a building that they think is on their property and it's actually on county property. And you don't really know until the foresters go out and they start cruising the timber and they go, your chicken coop is on county land. And so then it creates a challenge. And so how do we deal with that? And that's what the land committee does. And then at some point, we gave Shane some direction. And then at some point, he'll come back with some recommendations that we'll have to address as a board. But those are always interesting meetings. I had jail and design operations committee meeting. And things are moving along well. It's just, we were actually kind of crossing our fingers that maybe 1st of April, but 1st of April is, well, you see what's going on out there. So, but it won't be long. They'll be scraping some ground and getting ready to put footings in. So it's exciting. They're going to have a sample of the panel. They'll be bringing that up here. And I'm thinking that we'll be able to see that in May. Is that what we heard, Tom? So, it's all made out of precast and it has colors and this and that and designs in it. And they're going to bring one of the panels up ahead of time so we can get a chance to preview it. So that'll be kind of fun. And everyone will be invited to come and see that. And then last Thursday, is it Thursday? We had the sheriff's department and the city police department put together the scam awareness program. And so I did attend that. And I think, I'm at the point where I think I know what all the scams are. And then you hear some new ones and you go, wow, what are they going to think of next? And all I would just tell people, anyone that's listening in, just if anything looks too good to be true, it is. And just whatever you do, be very careful about opening anything, replying to anything. If you don't know who they are, and if it's urgent enough, I'm pretty sure they'll give you a call. I had another one today that was from supposedly Commissioner Gosvig. It says, hey, can we get together this afternoon? And I know that you would have either texted me, and I know the language you would use too, because I've had a text from you before that wasn't you, and we've had that conversation. People, the scammers out there it's just unbelievable. Has anyone here not gotten the toll scam?
I got one from him yesterday.
So, I mean, it's. So
I'll hand out deposit tickets for all of you.
You just really, really need to be aware because it's awful out there, that whole scam business. So be careful.
Thank you, Commissioner Carlson. I actually circled in we have a program called Know Before. And I know we use that one of the other boards that I'm on, and that's a scam awareness, software. Basically, they send you emails to, alert, educate people on the scams and the different types of things the cyber crooks are always trying to do. And, my company that I work for has, a different one called Arctic Wolf, but they're worth the investment in those programs just to keep top of mind awareness. I just had one for my real job this morning and went through and talked about how they're going through the cell phones and that because people are usually in a hurry and they, even notifications and other things, should take the time to look at them before you just accept them or open them, even on your cell phone. So. Oh, yeah, Commissioner
Sorry,
Carlson.
one more thing. We all got the invitation about the countywide training. And I don't know if we're obligated as commissioners to do that, but I did do that last year and I thought it was very useful. So I'd encourage the commissioners to sign up for a session as well.
Yeah, safety training. Yep. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Carlson. I just have a couple of things. One on the airport authority, you mentioned about the review, but we also did sign the lease agreement for the planning area 3, the western part. If you've been by the airport, you've seen dirt work and stuff having gone on there. That's what we call planning area 3 expansion of the airport and one of the hangars. We signed the lease agreement to get the first hangar built in that area. So that fulfills our deed grant and stuff, so we can get the city water and everything out extended through that area, and everything is on track there. So that's good. HRDC, we had our elections, and I got elected as the chair of the HRDC board at the last meeting, and we are looking at the roof and taking proposals for re-roofing the building over there. That's some updates on HRDC. And we mentioned earlier about the April 7th, 7 o'clock, or no, was it April 22nd, excuse me, 7 o'clock meeting at BSU for the stormwater project from Northern Township, to remind people of that. Yep. Oh, that's April 7th, yeah. Next Monday, public hearing here at 6 o'clock at the county boardroom for the shoreland ordinance, draft ordinance review. So anybody that is within 1,000 feet of one of our lakes, or within 300 feet of, or has property within 1,000 feet of one of our lakes, or has property within 300 feet of one of our rivers, that shoreland ordinance applies to those properties. And so the public hearing is here 6 o'clock next Monday, April 7th for that. And that is it for my reports. If anybody doesn't have anything else, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Chair, regarding the meeting schedule coming up,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to do chat about tomorrow.
Yep.
We're doing an e-learning day tomorrow, and
Oh.
now we have a school-wide staff meeting at 9:30, which is so any of the other commissioners or Tom able to call, you can call in too if you don't want to travel in tomorrow.
Does anybody want to volunteer to take that chat about session?
Great, Tom.
I don't know if I could summarize all of your dialogue tonight and do it justice, but I'm happy to do it actually, if you'd like.
Do you have time to do it, Tom? Or otherwise, I think Commissioner Winger was also leaning towards, I was volunteering. I was going to volunteer.
I was gonna make a motion to adjourn.
No. I don't, I was trying to volunteer
What
you.
time is it tomorrow? 9:30?
9:30, yeah.
I'm sorry, we're getting a new copier tomorrow at 9:30, so won't be able to do that. No, I can do that. no
You can do it? All right.
problem. Yeah, I can do it.
Thank you, Tom. So we'll have you report for chat about duty tomorrow.
Sounds good.
So we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Gould, second by Commissioner Carlson. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. And we are adjourned. Thank you.